Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. Our mission is to see a world well led. And our strategy to get there? To empower leaders like you to lead every day. So let's get to work.
It's a brand new week here on the Lead Every Day show. I'm Randy Gravitt.
I'm Mark Miller.
And we're glad you're here with us for a new week. We're talking about how to become a better leader. And last week, we spent a whole week answering questions that people had submitted. Just some really fun stuff to think about. It caused you and me to think and hopefully grow a little bit ourselves last week. We got some new questions this week that are going to be fun. So I hope you had a good weekend.
I did indeed.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Ready
Let's do
to roll into some new ones here. Okay, so here's a great question. It came. The question was, if you are trying to share ownership with people, you're really trying to foster, ownership among your people. What do you do to stay engaged? It's like if you start giving your work away, what do you do for your work? I love that question. We run into it from time to time. We have leaders ask all the time, like, I feel like I don't have anything to do. I've given everybody, their own track. They're doing what do I do now? I think there's a lot to do. Let's jump in here.
Well, I think the first thing I would say to a leader who's asking, how do you stay engaged? I would say it really needs to anchor to your vision. I mean, you got to be pursuing something big. You got to be chasing something that matters. That's what's going to stir the passion in you, and I think it'll help you stay engaged.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it starts there.
Remember your why.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of thing.
That's a good way to say it. Remember your why. I think also if you're gonna think about this idea of engagement, how could you ever consider there would be a time where you're not engaged? If you're the leader, engagement starts with you. No matter what you're doing. I think asking yourself, what should you be doing? What are those highest, best use of your time? And sometimes we're doing things we shouldn't be doing. That might be another group of the audience here today. You've not delegated some things. You've not shared ownership, and you're some of those things we talked about last week. You can't delegate. There are some things you should delegate, and I think if we're not careful, we end up holding on to some things. But if we do give them away, what do we do to stay engaged? I think one of the things we have to remind ourselves that our job to encourage people, to resource people, to provide people the boundaries they need. Some of the things that really, these are on leaders. And if we forget, there's role clarity for the person who you were delegating to, but there's role clarity for the leader as well. And if we lose sight of that, I mean, we've always got something to do. It's not, to me, it's a little bit mind-blowing that a leader would feel like, I don't have anything left to do.
Yeah. Well, I think there are phases or stages as a leader matures and as an organization matures that will help define your role, and that you would be 100% fully engaged regardless of where you are
of the task
in your career journey.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah.
And the way we've talked about it before, and this may resonate with some of you, at an early stage in your career, my guess is you were a doer. And you may not even have been in a leadership role, but you did something. Chances are really high that you did it well. And somebody said, hey, this person has potential, and you were moved into leadership. Well, congratulations. That's the path many of you have taken. That's the path I took. But when you then move into leadership, you begin with a bias to be a doer. And you can accomplish some things as a doer, but you're going to quickly hit some human capacity limits. There's only so much you can do. And then that next phase that most leaders make the leap at some point, they discover delegation. And they feel like the skies have parted, right? Oh my goodness, I can actually get things done without physically having to do them myself. And that's that second phase. The fundamental problem there, from my estimation, is too many leaders get stuck there. Because if you remain a delegator, you're always part of the process. And typically, you're the one giving the instructions. You're providing the boundaries. You're providing the parameters. And if you're not there to do the delegating, people are just waiting on the boss to tell them what to do next. And so delegation is a great step, but you don't want to stop there. The next phase, I would say, of maturation is you become a developer. And when you begin to focus on the people and helping them learn and grow so that they can focus on the task, You should still be fully engaged, but you're no longer doing. You're no longer or focused on doing. You're no longer focused on delegation. Now you're focused on developing. And as great as that is, I have learned that there's one more level, because you can get stuck there. But I had a leader tell me one time, all my leaders are developed. What do I do now? And I said, well, maybe you need to take one more step and become a designer. And now you're thinking about the systems. You're thinking about the processes. You're thinking about how to create a flywheel that will, in fact, turn and enable the people to do all that they need to do. But again, regardless of where you find yourself, you should be 100% engaged.
Yeah.
It's just very different if you're 100% engaged as a developer or a designer as opposed to a doer or a delegator.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's so easy to think task here. This question was like, when I give away my task, but there's something bigger than task. And I like what you're talking about, developing and designing, all those kind of things. It goes back a little bit to the idea that the leader is not the one that has a bunch of followers. The leader really is the one that's creating a bunch of leaders. Mm-hmm. I mean, that the most effective leaders we know they have a leadership culture. They're designing a culture where leaders can grow and flourish, and they've got their eye on. It goes back to a little bit to what you talked about a couple of days ago. You didn't use the word awareness, but I was thinking awareness when you were talking about just having our head up and knowing what's going on.
Because you're designing things like what's our competitive advantage, and what is it going to be in the future, and what does it need to be in the future, and what gaps do we have to pursue that preferred future.
Yeah, that's good. I'll kind of build on something else you talked about, those phases. Dan Webster and I wrote about 6 phases of renewal, and I would just say to the leader who's listening, who you may find yourself at a place you're sort of stuck right now. You've been doing it for a while. The phases we talked about, like at the beginning, there's the excitement phase, right? You're brand new in a place, and you don't know what you're doing. I mean, it's like you get it, but you're excited. Enthusiastic beginners, right? You get in a relationship, you're excited. You get in a new job, you're excited. I mean, the first is it's a lot of fun, but then you get to this point where you go, we don't know what we're doing, and so we got to become. We get into fundamental phase, is what we call it. You got to learn that stuff, and there's excitement there, but then you get to a contribution phase, and that's where you start giving stuff away, and you got people to help you, and you got a team a lot of times there. But there becomes a place where there's a little bit of a stop sign, and if you're not careful. And I think the spirit behind the question here even is like, I feel like I've lost it. I don't have anything left to do. And we said that stop sign phase is where you become, if you're not careful, bored, tired, disillusioned. It's like, am I needed anymore? That's where you go to that place where you're talking about design and developing other people, and you're starting to see this next generation to grow. I think there's so much opportunity there. So if you've been around for a while, you've been doing it for a while, don't lose sight of the fact that you have so much to give to that, and you can learn from that next generation as well. By the way, we love that part, but don't lose sight that you really have a chance to be engaged in a new way. It's not the same way you were as a beginner or a learner. Now you've got a chance to really bring your wisdom to it if you've developed that as a learner all along the way. So we hope you'll give some thought to that. No matter where you are in your journey, you've got a chance to be engaged.
You got to be engaged. You got to be engaged.
You can't go.
People always watch the leader.
They do, and you can't go where you want to go without it. So hope you'll come back tomorrow. We got a new question for you, but I hope today you'll take some time and ask yourself: are there places where you've gotten a little off where you want to be? You're not as engaged as you need to be. Let's recalibrate that. People are depending on you. When we want to see a world well led, it really does start with us becoming better leaders. Come back tomorrow. We'll talk more about it. Remember, the best leaders lead every day.